Hello, everybody. Yes, here we are again. That voice coming at you out of the vortex. I've been speaking out of my vortex for years. You all know that already. Yes, whatever time zone or time stream that you're in, it's time for Type 40 Live. This week, who am I? Who's this? There I am. Yeah, I'm Dan Hadley, Birmingham's king of the geeks, and your host for the next however long we ramble on for, really. There are no hard and fast rules. That's the disclaimer out of the way. How are you? What's it like outside? Snowing here. The kind of snow you do see on wintry postcards of proper Great Britain, the way it used to be. Just keep that in your mind. I'm nice and warm in here with Rosie and my various Doctor Who bits and bobs behind me to keep a watching eye. I hope you're well. Hope you've had a good week. Yet last week's live stream, wow, yes, lots and lots of views on that. So thank you, everybody. People seem to enjoy it. Lots of comments in the comment section too. The conversation kept on flowing, and the rumours, well, they've kept on going too, haven't they? We're going to talk some more rumours today, more so from the past, but we're going to sort of line them up and to see really how the Doctor Who rumour machine, the rumour mill, how it works, how it spins, and where and why we engage with it against our better judgment sometimes. That's coming up a little bit later on. But whilst I remember, and whilst I've got your attention, can somebody please like the video? I know there's quite a lot of people watching already. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel. If you subscribe now, hit the little bell, then you'll get the notifications for when we do this again. There's all sorts coming up on the channel always. Got some more companions to bring in a moment. But first of all, let's see who's watching along in the chat. Yes, because we're out beaming across several destinations now to the Type 40 Facebook page over on Facebook. That's going really, really well. The last 2 or 3 weeks we've added that, so people can share it without being a member of the Type 40 Facebook group. It also goes to the wall there, so people will be commenting in from the Facebook group too. And, of course, we're over on YouTube, the world's largest streaming platform, as is traditional. So keep the comments coming. Come and join the chat if you like. Yeah, we've got lots and lots of little news items, some fan art, a bit of banter, and all of time and space to explore. Afternoon, gang. Afternoon, Jonathan. How are you? How are things? You still haven't told us what your icon is. I know it's familiar, but I can't quite work out where I've seen it before. Who else is here? We have Lord Thoth. I'm actually in a teleconference now. Well, we'll try not to distract you, but we can't promise anything. Morning, Matt in New Zealand. Good morning, Matt. Hope you had a good night's sleep. Who else? We've got Mega Neurobyte here. He says, is the Romans supposed to be a comedy? Because I haven't found it funny so far. You miserable devil, Stephen. That's the Stephen from the Dalek Factory there. Coming in. And who else? Yes, Vanessa Law. Vanessa. Hi, Vanessa. Good to see you. She's good and awake. Pleased to hear it. You don't have to be awake to watch Type 40 Live. Again, it's up to you entirely. If you'd like us to send you to sleep even. I have been known to send several people to sleep in the past. Okay, let's bring on the first of our companions this time. I've had a haircut this week. I've given myself a lockdown haircut. Don't laugh. I've gone the old Peaky Blinders route, so it's very, very short at all sides and round the back. No fade, no fuss, all buzz. Yeah. Simon Horn, what do you think?
I think it's fantastic, Dan. I think it's short, to say the very least. We need to see the back. We need to see the back. Give us a bit of a twirl. Let's see the back.
Hold on.
Whoa!
I can't get all the way back, but yeah, it's
very short, isn't it?
It is. And when I went out, when I went out the next day running, I really, really felt it, because there's a lot. It's a very, very wintry air. Mm-hmm. Yes, it's not nice out at the moment at all, is it? Because I know that you had a home haircut recently, didn't you, from your other half?
I did. Yeah, I did have a home haircut recently, and we'll continue this. And you know, this is going to sound absolutely mad, and there's no word of a lie here. I'm actually considering whether to dye my hair blue. Okay. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. This really is serious. I've even got the dye. I've been all manner of colours in the past. I've been blonde, black, green, purple, all manner of colours, and I've never been blue. I really want to go blue.
Is it TARDIS blue or Birmingham City
TARDIS
football?
blue. Oh, absolutely. Of course. What else would it be? Yeah, it's TARDIS blue. And I'm really not kidding here. Maybe people should comment in the comments. I want to know whether I should go blue or not. I'm really not kidding here. I have got the dye. It's ready to go. I'm just plucking up the courage whether or not to do it. It could. But then I'm thinking, look, we're in lockdown. I'm not going anywhere. Nobody's seeing me apart from everybody on this thread. So do I go blue? Do I not go blue?
Hey, well, while we're on screen, I'm going Jonathan Ross, everybody. While we're on screen, somebody maybe who can have Photoshop open, whack a screenshot in there, and you can give Simon that blue makeover whilst we're here. Send us the JPEG, and we'll pop it up on screen live this afternoon. How does that sound?
I need your help, guys. Do I go blue?
Any takers in the chat? Oh, Christian's here. He says go blue. Well, he would. He's there from the Legend of the Travelling TARDIS, of course. So he's more blue than anybody, surrounded by blue panels. Somebody else who does their own hair, I believe, is also in the waiting room here, about to join us, about to materialise. Yes, it's a good friend JT.
Hello, everybody.
There's a link. We don't just throw these things together, do we?
Absolutely not. I would say definitely go blue, Simon. Definitely go blue. In fact, do it now live on the show. Let's get that sorted, everybody. I was just looking at where I used to get my information back in the old days. This was one of them. Blue Peter, of course, a standing British legend. Look at this. Can you see this, viewers?
Yeah.
I think we need to see that a bit closer up there, because I don't think I've seen that before. I haven't got that particular blue. Oh, look at that tubing font there. Sorry, geeky graphic designer moment. I see a font that I like, and I'm all over it like a rash.
What year was that, JT? What year?
Well, it's the 18th book, and it introduces Peter. So I would say 1980, 81 into 82, because it says here. Look at this. Where is it? Yes, the new Doctor Who is due to emerge from the body of Tom Baker in March this year. But there you go.
Less said about that, the better. We've got Kenny Lynch here saying, I would imagine that going blue would be determined by what you do for a living. For me personally, it wouldn't work. That's very enigmatic.
Well, yeah, it's funny, Kelly. No, in the past, I absolutely couldn't go blue. And that's why now, actually, with what I do nowadays, I actually could get away with it, which is why I'm suddenly tempted for the first time in my life. I really want to do this.
Electric blue, absolutely lovely.
So I've got to say here, where's it gone? I've just seen Matt Potts. Can you bring up Matt Potts' comment? I think I'm liking this one. There we go.
If you add a couple of Matt Potts there, as he's watching on YouTube, he says if you add a couple of ping pong balls, you could be the Cookie Monster. This is what we like from our various contributors. Yeah, lots of imagination.
People already.
Lots of ideas. Another idea for a Photoshop. I think we've got another guy coming in also who admits to cutting his own hair. Yes, but he always does everything in a mega way. So it's a mega haircut. Here's Ian David Deers, the mega geek.
Yay!
Of course I cut my own hair. Of course I do.
It is very brave. I'd never done it before, and I must admit, I'd snipped a little here and there during the last lockdown. But it was one of those moments where I think, okay, you've got to go. I can say this: you've got to go balls deep or not at all, haven't you? So it's all got to go. It's all got to go. Who else?
I don't know what you're talking about, Dan.
Well, neither do I. Just think yourselves lucky, gentlemen.
No, I don't know who this is. We've got a comment here from Facebook users. Of course, that's the only problem. We're streaming over to Facebook. We can't see who you are unless you tell StreamYard who you are. That's how it works. So no offense, but hello, Facebook user. Spoken lots on Facebook, so it's nice to see you live, other than watch after the live chat. And I just say I am also TARDIS blue. There's more of this around.
We need a photo.
Fabulous. I remember in the 80s. Oh, hi, Daniel. I remember in the 80s when the blue hair. Do you remember when blue hair started to appear and everybody's like, oh! Yeah. And I always thought, I actually really quite like that. That's quite nice.
Well, I've been all manner of colours before, but never something as mad as blue. And it's on my bucket list. The truth is, it's on my bucket list.
Get it done.
Game over.
I just imagine Simon. There's a row of old women getting their blue tints, and it just comes up to Simon sitting there waiting for his, just waiting.
That's brilliant. You could do it
by the minute.
Ian, you could do a tracking shot.
Like a shot, yeah.
if you're too young to remember,
a bit like the opening of the Leisure Hive, going past all the beaches.
Yeah.
if you're too young to remember the phenomenon of the blue rinse hairstyle, my nan had a blue rinse. She also had a bright pink rinse for a while. She looked like candy floss. She really did. She really went in for that in a big way. Did most of the old colour chart hair. Yes, Matt says Dame Edna Everett. She loved the blue. She did. I was trying to work out where I'd seen it before.
Oh, yes.
Glasses there.
And let's give a big shout out to the biggest hair colour of all, Mrs. Slocum.
Oh gosh, yes, of course.
Yes,
Yeah.
every
Funny,
week.
I was only watching a bit of that this morning, actually.
Oh, classic.
Insert.
Classic, yeah.
Slocum and her pussy.
Classic. Classic. And it's
Wonderful.
still 50 years on. That gag is still
Yeah.
Yeah.
Funny.
Yeah, it's the way Molly Sugden delivers it, isn't it? She's so straight. Captain Peacock, if I'm not home by 6, my pussy will be dripping.
It's the way she tells them. Sticking with the subject of hair, we're going to switch from the top of the head to the mid range for our first bit of news. Now all the
I was worried where you were going with that for a minute.
Yes, type 40 after dark. You can stay watching, everybody. We're definitely not doing any of that. I'm talking about this story, which is broken over on social media. I think it was on TikTok or Instagram. I'm not quite sure, but I got this from Lad Bible. Congratulations to Matt Lucas, who played Nardole in Doctor Who. 46-year-old Matt here is celebrating the arrival of his very first ever moustache at 46 years of age. Of course, famously, Matt Lucas has suffered from hair loss since he was about 9 or 10 years of age, maybe even younger. And this is a big moment for Matt. He's clearly very happy with it. We're thrilled for him. Well done, Matt. I don't know what he's going to do with it now, whether he's just going to keep on growing and see how big he can get it.
Shave it off.
Well, it looks like the kind of moustache that a 12-year-old would grow. So, it's not working for me, Matt. Get rid of it. Be gone.
The people have spoken there, Matt, but we're very happy for him.
But look how happy he is, though. Look how happy he is. You know,
yeah, bless him.
It looks like a little 1-year-old baby with a painted on moustache.
One of his Little Britain characters.
Yeah.
he does he looks happy though.
Did you see that from? Let's say hello to Jonathan there, who's just put, "Are you free?" Yes, we're free.
Yes. Ellis is saying, "I'm free. I'm free."
Oh, fabulous.
People love "Are You Being So?" Funnily enough, I mean, not wishing to go down too much of a tangent here, but I'm about to pull the trigger on the box set. I seriously am. I've just listened to a interview with Frank Thornton's daughter talking about how she's been researching him. One of the very few character actors who was never in Doctor Who, come to think of it, was he?
Very much so. Absolutely, yeah. In fact, none of them were. And I'm not including that Children in Need to mention the Time Monsters with Wendy. No, I knew Ian was going to come up with something like that. But no. But no, I don't think. Obviously, some of the staff would have been, but we'd have to go through the cast list of Are You Being Served to see what's going on there.
Yeah.
I'm getting lots of comments down here. I can see Chris Stone saying "Go Blue." Lots of people are saying "Go Blue." It's going to happen. It is going to happen.
Yay!
The problem is, if I turn up in a baseball cap, you'll know it's gone wrong.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Wow.
Yes, well, keep us posted about that one. You never know what you're going to get. You never know what you're going to get on this show, do you? Yes. Whilst I'm reminded here by people in the chat, yes, please like the video. If you like what you hear so far, you're going to get more of the same. So you may as well like now. Don't dither any longer. Pull the trigger. Hit the like. And yes, subscribe to the channel too for more Type 40 Live. Talking about actors who've been in everything, and to just change the tone ever so slightly, I'd rather do this now than later. The Doctor Who community, we've sort of lost one of our own this week. I don't know if you've noticed this gentleman, and I'm talking of Harry Fielder here. Now, Harry's just passed away at the age of 80. Passed away on the 6th of February, and he's an English actor and supporting artiste. I think that's how it's described now, or an extra, as they used to say. And he has worked extensively in British TV and movies from the 1960s right the way through, certainly into the 80s and maybe into the 90s too. He was a Death Star trooper in the first Star Wars movie. But for the purposes of our conversation, this guy appeared in over a dozen Doctor Who stories between 1967 and 1982. He was also a stalwart of the ITC stable of filmed cult TV shows too. So yeah, Harry Fielder, a great character, staple of the convention circuit too. He was a big Facebook user over the last 5 to 10 years. He was a member of several Facebook groups, I remember. And yeah, always happy to talk about his time in film and TV, and particularly in Doctor Who. Everybody, here are some of his appearances. Very sad news. Any memories of Harry, everybody, when you sort of clicked that it was the same guy watching these stories?
I don't think I ever clicked, I have to be honest.
Same here.
It never. What's that bottom middle photo? I don't even recognise what that one's from. The black costume. What's that?
Is that the Seeds of Doom?
Yep, Seeds of Doom.
Okay, thank you. Okay, yeah.
One of Harrison Chase's guys. He continually sort of bullies people around there. And we've got, yes, several people. Oh, hi. Yes, by the way, the TARDIS Blue comment is from Jackson Parish. Yes, I know. Jackson, of course. Yeah, it's good to see you. Pictures.
Hi, Jackson.
After I top up my vivid colour, it will happen. It's lovely to speak to you at last. With Jackson, I've been speaking for years, haven't we? I've never actually, I don't think she's heard my voice before. The Space Book. So Harry here. Yeah, yes. Obviously, this guy was in them all. He was in the Professionals. He was in the Saint. He was in Randall and Hopkirk Deceased, the Champions. You name it.
Wow.
This level of supporting artists has seen it all, and the movies too. You know, several of the biggest films of the 70s and the 80s. This guy had got a filmography that anybody would envy, but he really enjoyed what he did, and I don't think he wasn't snobbish about his status either. He liked being a supporting artist. He liked the fact that he'd been on screen with all these legends. And R.I.P. Much respect to Harry Fielder. Yeah, so I was sad to see that he'd left us, because this is a name that I've seen turn up time and time again, largely on social media and things. I know he's got a following. I know people really loved him and he would sign practically anything
and for free. He wouldn't charge you for anything at all. He was old school.
In the old days,
it's always good to be old school. Always.
Yes, I suspect he had several hair colours in his many roles as well, Simon. Speaking so yeah, rest in peace, Harry. I was really sorry to hear that, but he lived a very, very full, happy life. He had a great career, a long, happy marriage. So yeah, we salute you there, Harry. With people, yes, the imaginations of people in the chat are going through the roof here.
Wow.
We have PD Rich, who says if Timon turns up with breast implants and starts criticising the fan community, it's gone very, very wrong. Another kind of, I don't know what he means about that. Comic Talk with Pops, Fans, and Friends. You are live in the madness. Hello, madness. I'm not quite sure what that means, but is it going to hurt, Pops? Is it going to hurt?
It's a great band. We love Madness.
Yeah. So, yes, if you are watching over in the madness, please like this video and subscribe. Come and subscribe to the channel. Watch us in the madness again, by all means. Thank you for that, Pops. Hi, guys, from TARDIS time. I like to talk about the audio dramas, the world of Doctor Who, the expanding worlds of Doctor Who, and I know that not all of you, in fact, a lot of you aren't as keen on the audio dramas as I am, are you? You're very reluctant, and Simon cherry picks. You've left them behind, JT. You're not on board with it. But I've noticed there are lots of new audiobooks that have been announced over the last few weeks, and why I wanted to bring this to your attention, Simon, is because this one is direct from your favourite season, your favourite era. It's sort of what happened next. It's a sequel to Warrior's Gate, and by Stephen Gallagher himself.
Stephen Gallagher, you've got my attention.
Yeah. Seriously? And it's part of a new line that they're doing over on, but this is BBC Audio, not Big Finish.
Who is it read by, Dan? I can't see. Read by
Stephen Pacey.
That's the funny thing. It's not read by Lalla Ward. I was expecting it to be read by Lalla Ward. It's just Stephen Pacey. He played Tarrant. He played Tarrant on Blake 7.
He does a lot of the audiobooks, Simon. He reads a lot. Yeah. And
so this is BBC, nothing to do with Big Finish?
Nothing to do with Big Finish at all. But it's part of a new line that they've got coming out called Beyond the Doctor. And yeah, Lala Wars Romana there. So I would imagine she's still stuck in E-space. That's what I'm picking up from the graphic there, with the bright light coming through the stony window.
Yeah, it's very Warrior's Gate, isn't it? That, I mean, this kind of stuff is far more interesting to me than the latest one written by Nick Briggs. Sorry, but call me a heathen, but I'm far more interested in what Stephen Gallagher has got to say, because this is. You're right, Dan. This is kind of classic stuff. This is, and so I'm much more interested in and the stuff that was written by Andrew Smith. I know he's done some for Big Finish, and David Fisher, of course, famously did the Stones of Blood, rewrote the Stones of Blood, and that's a brilliant audio book. So that kind of stuff is far more interesting to me personally, and so this absolutely, you're spot on, Dan. This has got I knew nothing about this, and this has really got my attention, and so I want to hear this.
Well, you know what this reminds me of? And it's a shame they called it Beyond the Doctor, because they could have tied it in with their new novel range, because this reminds me of the Companions of Doctor Who Target range.
Oh, yeah.
Of which there were only 3.
Yeah, you're right.
There were only 3. There was Turlo and the Earthlink Dilemma,
K9
and Company, and there was Harry Sullivan's War. So this reminds me of that sort of stuff, and it's a shame that they went with this new. They could have done a whole Target sequel, the Companions of. I mean, it depends who you want to do, because I don't know if you've got it down, but the one that nearly made me wet myself was the one about Bessie.
Yes, it's funny you should say that. I have got. You mean this, don't you? Yes, I've got that.
For God's sake! Why?
Now, again, here we are in a situation where the previous story written by Stephen Gallagher. Stephen Gallagher has written lots and lots of books and other TV shows. He's a hard sci-fi author, very respected. Oh, yeah. So a sci-fi story by him back in the Doctor Who universe and picking up from where he's gone before. I'm not surprised you're interested in that, Simon.
Absolutely.
But as JT's just said, when I saw this listed, this is by Paul Mars, Paul Mars is a fun writer. So if anybody can give voice, I suppose, to Bessie, it's probably him. But I can't help but think, why? Why?
Look at him, he's so funny.
But
look who's playing her. Look who's playing her, though. The legendary Stephanie Cole. I mean, what a coup
for Stephanie Cole, isn't it? Let's be honest.
I hope she had a laugh.
Thomas the Tank Engine or something. What's going on? Jesus Christ.
I haven't got the blurb for the story itself yet.
You don't say.
Paul Mars has written a lot of Big Finish, and he was behind the Hornet's Nest series that Tom Baker starred in before he made his way to Big Finish. So fun, quirky stories. It may not be as awful as it sounds, everybody.
I don't see how it can't be.
It's awful.
That's what we said about Turlo and the Earthlink Dilemma.
I like Turlo and the Earthlink Dilemma. You just shut up, Jay.
I was like that.
I found that.
One of my favourite books.
Is it? Oh, well,
yes.
As a child, I found it unreadable. But I think that if they were to do that as a talking book now with Mark Strickson, I may enjoy it. Matt, I agree.
That's actually a very good point, though, Dan. With Simon, you saying that, I struggled with it as a 16-year-old, 15, 16-year-old, whatever it was. I might go back to it.
Okay. Yeah, I love it now. I loved it at the time and love it now. So Matt, sorry, Matt. We agree on Nick Briggs then. I'm sorry, Nick Briggs is a lovely bloke. Please, can I make very, very clear here? Nick Briggs is a lovely bloke, and he does the Dalek voices really, really well, and he writes probably really well as well. But just just give somebody else a chance. It doesn't all have to be written and directed and starring Nick Briggs. That's all I'm saying.
So let's go to this comment here from Matt Pott, just for people out there who don't know, because she's British. Matt Pott here is asking, who is Stephanie Cole? Again, she's strangely never been in Doctor Who that I can remember.
No,
Stephanie Cole is a very prolific British character actress, isn't she?
Yes.
Right?
Yes, so you may know her if you have watched Lou Jameson in the 70s and early 80s did a series called Tenko. Stephanie Cole stars alongside her in a couple of series of that, playing B. Yeah.
And the other very famous thing, of course, that she did was Open All Hours, in which she was Mrs. Featherstonehoff in the Widow All in Black, and she's priceless in that.
Yeah.
So check out Open All Hours, and you'll see Stephanie Cole.
And I caught her in something the other day on some TV channel on a 90s thing that I never saw because I was too busy clubbing in the 90s, so I don't really remember it. And it was some sort of comedy thing that she's done, Waiting for God or something. I don't know.
Yeah. You only live once.
Ian, was that the one that was set in the old people's home?
Yeah, the old people's home.
Yeah.
Once or something.
Yeah.
We have
it's good in that.
Another comment here. I think this is from
She's good in everything.
Yeah. That's the best old school Doctor Who ever. I think she's talking about Warrior's Gate. Mine is either Castrovalva or better still, Enlightenment. I remember you like Enlightenment. What's yours? What's your best old school Doctor Who story, Simon?
Oh, you're having a laugh. How long have you got?
Oh, God.
We have to come back to you on that next time.
It literally changes every day, from Talons of Wen Chiang to the Deadly Assassin to the Robots of Death to Earthshock to Androzani to Enlightenment to Revelation of the Daleks. Take your pick. Inferno,
Robots of Death.
Robots of Death. They don't come much better.
Another one.
That's yours.
Brilliant.
That's yours, Ian.
That's
JT,
mine.
what's yours?
I can't. Oh no, pass. Can't do that.
You're going to take one.
He answers the question simply. That means the whole world's going to stop. Do you know what I mean?
Let me explain to people why I'm laughing so much about this. Because, coming up soon, we had the bright idea to have an entire week, an entire show called Ask Us Anything, where potentially the people out there, all you lovely people who watch regularly, week by week in the chat, can send us direct questions, which we will answer on screen like that one, and we'll try and answer them as directly as we can. But if that's a pilot for that idea, it's not gone too well.
If you're asking though to choose between any of the stories in a 26-year period, it's really difficult when you put on the spot, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
I might go for Robots of Death as well with Ian.
It's classic though, isn't it? That's a beautiful one. Everything works well in Robots, doesn't it? Just absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
Gorgeous one.
Although I watched I watched the John Pertwee one. I keep forgetting the name, the one with the dinosaurs recently.
Oh, I watched that last week.
You know what? It isn't that bad. I remember watching it thinking it was rubbish.
Yeah. It's a great story, and it's got this lovely thing for Mike Yates in it as well.
Yeah.
This lovely arc thing that's coming in for him. It's a great story.
It's brilliant. It's only the effects that let it down.
Yeah,
it's brilliant.
It makes me laugh when John Pertwee and Mary, call her Mary Jane now. Liz was waiting for the bus.
Yeah,
waiting for the bus.
It's classic though, isn't it? That is a great story. It really is
a good story.
And you know what?
Dan, what about you? Let's put you on the spot. What's your?
It's pointless. Actually, you know what? Enlightenment would be in for a shouting chat. But I think that today it's Snake Dance. It's Snake Dance today. Always Peter Davison. Always go back to Peter Davison when I think of my favourite stories. People are on board with these companion books. Christian in the chat says, why not a series that explains what happened to Turlo?
No.
Yes. With Mark Strickson. Bring it on.
So that means a series of books in this respect rather than a series.
Are you telling me Big Fanish haven't done that already? Is that what you're saying?
They will. I totally agree. I'm with JT, right? Big Finish is doing too much. They should stop now. They should stop. Totally. Seriously.
I think they need to look at their output just because people cannot afford to keep up, but I honestly think they've sort of flooded the marketplace, saturated it so much. And I love Big Finish, Kenny. If you're watching, you know I love Big Finish. But you can flood this marketplace too much, and people have only got so many, not just so much money, but they've only got so many hours in the average week to listen to this stuff. I think PD Rich has got the best comment so far. Everybody, check this out. His idea for a spin-off series or spin-off book: Adric and the Big Bang.
Wouldn't it? Sure.
I may have seen that sort of video somewhere before.
Dun, dun, dun. I think the best move on, everybody. I think the best move on. But keep watching when we know more about these books.
I certainly know someone that could actually confirm that, but we won't go into that.
It doesn't become special if you're flooding the market with lots of stuff, does it? You know what I mean? So,
and this is why. Okay, you know, I've made a bit of fun of Big Finish here, but some of the stuff I've listened to by Big Finish is really good, but some of it is really not very good, and and they need to be more selective and just just do put stuff out, guys.
Yeah.
I agree. Talking
we
about
are then. That's that sorted.
Let's have a heated debate.
Another thing that I think people should be a bit more selective with too, as well, and this includes Big Finish, is where they spread this character. Because if you remember last year, Sophie Aldred put out a book. She wrote a book about Ace's life, funny enough, after she left the Doctor, and it did quite well. I think it was in hardback. I think it's just come into paperback. It's called Childhood's End. I've not read it myself. I'll probably pick it up at some point, either the audiobook or the book. But they've announced this week that Alex Kingston is now writing a River Song. This is a book. It's coming out on the 20th of May, 2021, and it's up for pre-order at $16.99. And it says it's 1939 New York, and the Private Eye Melody Malone is hired to find a stolen ruby, the Eye of Horus. The ruby might hold the secret to the location of Cleopatra's tomb. But everybody who comes into contact with it dies. Can Melody escape the ruby's curse? Again, I feel like I've heard this story kind of before as well, and I don't know about more River Song, but yeah, that's...
Wake up, JT.
This character...
Yeah. I don't like her. I liked her when she first appeared, but then when she kept appearing, I just thought, no, leave. And also another thing is, am I the only one that thought it was very creepy because she looked like Matt Smith's mum when she kissed him? I was like, it doesn't work. It doesn't work.
A lot of guys like an older woman. I like an older woman, like a younger man.
It wasn't anything like that got me. It was just the overuse, and we talked about that the other week as well, didn't we? So go back and watch all the shows that are on the channel. Everybody, go and love them. But yeah, just overuse.
Absolutely, you're right, JT. It was an idea that lasted for about 5 minutes, I would say. And by the end of the first story she was in, she was beginning to drive me berserk. Yeah. So I certainly didn't want to see her back. And I'm sorry, I can live without a book written by Alex Kingston. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I think there is this problem. They just keep on. It's overuse of everything. It's just the problem is now Doctor Who undoubtedly has become a license to print money, and so it is just keep churning. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter what the quality is. Just keep churning it out. Just keep putting.
I'll tell you what's interesting about this thing as an actor, right? You could play one role and suddenly you're out of favor. Like for instance, when Alex Kingston was in ER, I really liked her in ER. I thought she was a really great actress. Suddenly she becomes River Song, and I liked her when she first appeared. Then she kept appearing. Now I don't like her. When I see a film with her in it, I just don't want to see it because
that's familiarity, isn't
my
it?
Idea, yeah. You know, they should really be careful who they play. Really.
The other idea there, Simon, is that the possibility could be her as well, as we've touched on before, is that they're going back to older characters to make the money, because the new ones are not making anything, and we know that as well. You know, so it could be that. I mean, that's what I'm possibly very wrong, but that's one of the things I think about these Beyond the Doctor roles. You just know there's going to be one with the lovely, gorgeous Katie Manning coming through, and quite right too. You know, I would see Lou Jameson jumping on board to do one about Leela.
Sadie Miller will probably write one for Sarah Jane.
Yeah, maybe even Jan will get one. Janet Fielding might get a chance because she never got the book that they were going to do about Tegan.
Yeah. Imagine if Chris Boucher wrote a book about Leela. The book
ending, love that.
Book ending The Face of Evil. You know,
that would have been a preprequel. Imagine a prequel.
In a toss-up between a book by Alex Kingston and one by Chris Boucher.
Do you know? Got an idea for what's the next anniversary for Doctor Who? The next one coming up, 60th. Maybe they should do a little YouTube thing with just the companions that make sense. Like for instance, Ace. Katie Manning. Do you know what I mean? And do a small little thing. Ian,
that's very interesting. You've said that because I saw that on a Facebook page during this past week where a fan has suggested something similar to say, look, we've got so much of a division now. The show's not working. The current incumbent is unpopular. Maybe they should celebrate the 60th anniversary by bringing all the existing companions together this time rather than the Doctor. And I thought, There's a spin I haven't thought of before. What an idea. It might work. Would it work with the public? I'm not sure. But if you're doing it something like on YouTube or it's for a DVD release for us fans, it would work.
Yeah, it would. It would. And sorry, go ahead, Simon. Sorry, mate.
No, I was just going to say, I think it would work with the public as long as you brought back enough recognisable companions. Yeah, I think it would work with the public.
I think it has to work with the companions that make sense to be in it. Do you know what I mean? You can't just throw people in it that look, I don't know. It has to make sense within the world that they're going to create for them. You know what I mean? So
it's an interesting story idea, though, Ian, isn't it? I think you could be onto something there. And if the BBC do that, you heard it here first.
Yeah. So it's something they should do, and I've said, right, and I will stick with this. It's a shame that they didn't do that with Paul McGann. They didn't do a 45-minute version of Paul McGann before the 50th. They should have done that. Goddamn BBC. But lost. Yeah, never mind.
It is, isn't it? Yeah,
you could be right. Talking about the general public.
Hooray!
We weren't.
The great British public.
We are. Simon was a moment ago. So yeah, talking about the British public, we are still 5-6 weeks into rumour season on the identity, the fate of the present Doctor, and the identity on who may be next. Now we always every week have to pull one of these out of the pack. This is the name. This is the name. This is the name that I'm seeing more than ever. This particular week. You ready? You braced for this one to go right, to go right up the nose of Gillian Anderson. Apparently, is somebody they really wants to be the Doctor. She's a name that I keep reading. Here she is with another.
Is she the one on the right or the left?
Gillian Anderson, yes, she's the one. Of course, she's the.
That's when she was filming The Crown.
Yeah,
so this is X-Files legend Gillian Anderson. She's 52 years of age. Obviously, she had a major role in that show. It's hugely popular. A character she's still identified with, but ever since, she's done things like The Fall, Sex Education, The Crown. Here, American Gods. This woman's career just keeps going up and up and up and up. Now she's real character actress. You never really know which kind of role she's going to take next. Who would have ever picked Gillian Anderson to play Margaret Thatcher here with Olivia Colman, who's also a name that still comes up, even though she turned the Doctor down back in 2017, allegedly. Her name comes up a lot too. But I just thought this was quite fun. And just to acknowledge the fact that Gillian's name does come up a lot. And my feeling about it. Yes, the Doctor is a male role, but if I was to look at women, Ian, she is gorgeous, she is talented, she is charismatic.
She's got her feet under the table when it comes to the BBC. The BBC like hiring her a lot. She's been in a lot of BBC stuff, and also she's been in a lot of Netflix stuff as well. I think 2, in fact. So she has got the pedigree, that word. But unfortunately, I'm with Simon. Really, the Doctor should be a man, but I think what should happen in the last episode is that Jodie changes and then it cuts to black and we don't see who she changed to.
Yeah, so that's a possibility, isn't it?
I mean, also, to be fair, Gillian Anderson, she's okay, but she's not as good as Jodie Whittaker, is she? I mean,
I tell you something, Gillian Anderson is great in that. It's interesting what Vanessa's saying there. There's gossip there, everybody. She's great in Netflix's Sex Education. What a hilarious show that is.
Yeah, she is.
She's great in that.
She's an all-rounder, and she's gorgeous. I mean, I've seen pictures of her lately. She's in her 50s now, and she still freaking does it for me. Do you know what I mean? Still does it.
We'll move on. Why would she?
Cold shower for the Mega Geek. Cold shower.
I want to know what this is that she doesn't treat her fans very well. What's that?
I know that is. Vanessa, give us some more gossip on that one. Or should we? I don't know. But why with the stellar career she's had, why would she suddenly want to go and work
Doctor Who? Yeah.
Doctor Who?
Yeah, you're right.
Okay. Well, Vanessa does add here. Allegedly, of course, she once told a story about an enthusiastic fan at a convention, and she mocked them. So, I've seen her talk about fans with affection, particularly X-Files fans. So, but obviously, people have their.
Haven't we all done that though? We do that every week.
He's got a point.
That's all right.
Got a point. Attack of the Slovene. Somebody slap him. Slap. Which one of us? Which one of us needs a slap? Which one?
There you go.
All of us. Yeah.
I took it for the team. And another one. There you go.
Oh, I don't know. Should we look at a couple of pretty pictures? Should we look at a couple of pictures, everybody? Yes, I have found. Yeah, this is full credit to Ollie Mally. Mally. Oh, now this publicity picture of John Pertwee from the Sea Devils is one that I think we've all seen time and time again, but always in black and white.
Yeah.
Mally here has colorized that photograph and done a fantastic job. So here's the Third Doctor brandishing his trusty Sonic, in those leather gloves, about to he's about to set off some mines, isn't he? As I remember in the story.
Yeah, setting off mines.
What a great
so
costume!
Clear.
What
so
a great
clear,
costume!
Wow,
it is
love that
fantastic
costume.
It's so simple.
I love it. It's he went through different kinds of costumes, but I think this one's my favorite because it's all I love John Pertwee. John Pertwee is one of my favorite doctors. Is there no nonsense doctor?
Ian. I grew up with Tom Baker.
I grew up with him.
But I started with John Pertwee. My earliest memories of John Pertwee, and I just loved the guy, and I still love him. And it still bothers me a little bit that I always feel of all of the doctors, he's somewhat underrepresented. He's somewhat forgotten. I always feel those early doctors. I don't know why. He just seems to get
he was the kick-ass doctor because he used to beat people up in the episodes. I remember he used to do that. What is it? Not
Venusian Aikido.
That's it. That's the one. Yeah, and he was brilliant at it. And also, I just love John Pertwee because he is so different from the other doctors.
Yeah,
he's so different. I mean, if you pile them all up, right, he would stick out like a sore thumb. This guy, because he was nothing like the rest of them. You know what I mean? So I love John Pertwee. He's such a brilliant doctor.
The picture that we're looking at here with that famous bouffant blowing in the breeze there, steely look and the straight arm of the Third Doctor. It's absolutely magical. That's a classic look for the character, I think. And I don't know. I took a long time to latch on to the Third Doctor, or not to latch on, but I took a long time to appreciate the Third Doctor. I really do now. And every time I hear people speak about how much he meant to them as a child, because obviously he is. I'm too young, so I am too young. Yes, Vanessa. So I'm watching Pertwee right now on my video. That's Vanessa.
Love Pertwee.
What are you up to, Vanessa? We need to know which story you're up to.
Yeah.
Daniel agrees. Yeah.
Story you're at. Disaster area makes a valid comment here. The Pertwee is the Bond Doctor.
Well, they say that, but the Avengers and Bond at the time was out, and I kind of agree. But you know what stuck out with me is when in the Five Doctors when they all got together at the ending to read that thing on the thing, and John Pertwee to me he stuck out. The first Doctor, he wasn't the original first Doctor, and then you had Patrick Troughton, but it was John Pertwee, man. He was the man.
Yes, but imagine if Tom had been there.
Yeah, exactly. But Tom wasn't there.
Those two huge talents there.
Yeah, I know.
The moment that I like is when he's chatting to the Brigadier and Sarah Jane, I think.
Yes.
And he's there chit-chatting like that. And he says, will you just excuse me a minute, dear boy, because they're about to transcribe that and I think they're going to get it all wrong.
Without me, yeah. But he looked a lot older then. His hair, even though his hair was blonde originally, it was very grey in that episode. But he still was a powerhouse. You could... I'd go on about John forever. He's fucking awesome.
Yeah. Well, John lived and breathed the Doctor. I mean, he'd turn up to open supermarkets as the Doctor. He would come to the conventions in his costume as the Doctor.
Yeah.
He lived it.
I don't think he ever turned up to a Doctor Who convention without his costume on. Right, he was still wearing his costume all the way through. He was always very proud of his Doctor Who heritage. And in a way, it's such a sad story that the only reason he sort of left was because he just wanted a bit more money, and they said no. And that was that. We wouldn't have had Tom Baker with that, so it's sliding doors. It doesn't really matter. But nonetheless, I still think it's a shame that they didn't recognise what they got in John at the time, in 73, 74 when he was leaving.
Yeah,
great actor.
He's a great actor, great person, and a great doctor, as far as I'm concerned. So.
And a tough act to follow. And I saw this. The Big Chief Studios there. You can't call them. Are they? They're dolls, statuettes. What would you call
Statuettes, aren't they?
Statuettes.
Figures.
They've got stitched clothes and things like that, which you don't normally get with statuettes, do you? So I'm not
No,
quite sure the word. But yeah, DSB in the chat in the comment section says, "Hi folks, Big Chief Studios Third Doctor will come out possibly if all goes well at the end of March. It's a damn good likeness. Yeah, I mean some of their likenesses are astonishing, and that one is particularly good. I know they were supposed to put that out a few months ago, but obviously with the pandemic going on, like everything else, has been affected by that. So yeah, if you have pre-ordered that, if you're looking forward to John Pertwee popping out of a big box into your living room and onto your mantle at some point.
I want to ask you guys a question. Okay, so let's just go on this road down the road. Say they do the assistants or the companions video, whatever. At the ending, they meet the Doctor. Which Doctor would you like them all to meet? There's my question. There's my question to you. Classic or new?
In this day and age, I reckon it would be Tennant.
No. But what would you like?
What was I like?
Yeah. What would you? What Doctor?
Well,
if the TARDIS appeared and the door opened, what Doctor do you like to see?
Yeah. I'd agree. It would have to be Tom.
Tom.
What
about you, Simon?
All three of you, Tom?
Yeah.
No. I would want John Pertwee personally.
Oh, I was assuming we were going for people that's still alive. If we're going if we're going to fantasy, well, in that case, no, it's Billy Hartnell in that case.
Willie Hart, but as I said, they can do it now. You know, with all the technology they can do. But what I'm saying, he just steps out the TARDIS, and that's where it ends. You know what I mean? What Doctor would you like?
The door just opens. But no, I would have it. Here's my answer. I would have it so the door would open.
Yeah.
The door would open outwards, and out would walk the Peter Cushing Doctor. And
that would be awesome.
And the credits would kick in. Yeah.
Wait. All the companions would be like, "Who are you?"
Yeah. I'd have it so it'd be Tom, and Tom would come out, look at them all, and go, "Jesus Christ," and get back in and go.
In my multiverse version ending of that, what would happen? That would be the equivalent of the Mandalorian scene.
Oh yeah. Okay.
You haven't seen? Have you watched?
Yes, I haven't seen it yet.
Okay, but it would be if you know what I'm talking about, you'll know what I mean. But that'd be
awesome. It doesn't matter if it's Tom or John. Or I mean, David's easy to get because he's still alive, I guess. Or Matt, whatever. But yeah, Tom would be awesome because the only time we've seen Tom is in the 50th. We need to see him in his prime again. It'd be awesome, wouldn't it? Absolutely awesome.
We do.
He'd be funny too.
He's the oldest Doctor now. At this moment in time, he's the governor, as far as I'm concerned.
He is.
He is. I mean, disaster area here is in the chat, and he's got this comment. Depends on which companions they use. Does it?
Well, the living ones.
Doesn't. Yeah, the living ones. The living ones. But
Carol Ann Ford onwards, we'd have to go through them all, wouldn't you?
Yeah. But it'd be really cool if that could actually, if the BBC could actually do that. It'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Absolutely awesome. Yeah.
I agree. Just bring out every single companion that you can get your hands on that's still alive.
Yeah.
Bring them back.
But as I say, we know they watch occasionally, so if it actually happens.
But also, if you want the audience to watch it, you have a vote. Put it on Twitter or wherever. Vote for the Doctor that comes at the ending. That's what they should do. Just get people.
Oh God, that was tried once before in 1993, and it was a hell of a mess. Let's not go down that.
All right.
We'd have somebody from bloody Are You Being Served or EastEnders turning up, going, "Oh, where am I?"
Well, it'd be really, a CGI
Doctor. As long as they don't render them in CGI, that's what Alex Storer. He's got a point there.
All we
want is just a small bit, like he opens the door and there he is, and then it cuts to black. You don't want to interact or anything like that. I'm sure they could do it good just for that one shot.
I do think it's a great idea. I think it's a twist on the anniversary stories, and it's never been done before. And we do, thank goodness, still have some of the actors around that have been involved over all these years. I mean, it would be very interesting, and it could be a disaster, couldn't it? It could be a massive disaster that only the companions recognize and come together to try and solve because they're on Earth together. Could work.
Yeah. I always hark back to the Sarah Jane adventures when Katie Manning's together with her and the way they talk and stuff like that. And do you know what I mean? So if you have other companions in there, it'd be interesting to see how they react with one another. And obviously they'll know their Doctor, but she won't know his doctor. Do you know what I mean? And it's an interesting dynamic there. You know, that could be a really entertaining little video.
But it's also more from a character point of view. It's a great way to develop a lot of the assistants that didn't get the development that they needed. Because imagine Anika Wills with Polly. You know, Polly would now be, you know, wherever Polly would be, and you know, it'd be a great way for them to do stuff without the doctor's interference, just like Liz has had the chance to do with Sarah Jane. You know.
And this is one of the things that Russell T Davies, I think, always did very well, which is he used to drop in those little comments about what some of the companions are up to.
Yeah.
And he came up with really imaginative stuff as to what they were doing now. So I think it would be great to put them in. And again, like I've just said, you know, before time runs out, guys, let's do this. They wasted an opportunity at the 50th. Please don't waste another opportunity before it's too late. We've lost too many good people.
I'll tell you what, let's all of us, all the space bookers, let's start this rumor. Let's start that this is what they're going to do. Let's get it out there. Because the last time we did something like this was a rumor back in '83 for the 20th, which was called The Phoenix Rises, which was when Peter Davison was going to meet William Hartnell. And it was an April Fool in the Doctor Who Monthly for April. And it just set everybody was, including myself, we were all like, oh my god.
But that would have been amazing though if it did.
They didn't have the technology to do it. It said in the magazine, in the monthly's thing, it said the technology's just been developed to do this now, and it was
Oh, that's it. What a shame. Yes, he's right. The technology had just been developed to do this. It was footage from a story called The Hidden Planet that they filmed.
The Hidden Planet.
I was only about 7, 8 years of age. I fell for that thinker to the point where I was waiting for it for months to happen.
Oh, bless!
I really was. I used to feast on every word because I learnt to read really largely through the Target books and Doctor Who magazine, and I used to take every word of DWM I took as gospel. And I think I got that copy of the magazine maybe a month later. But it would never have even registered with me at that age that was a joke. And but it did capture my imagination. I never really, and I think it was years later. Seriously, it took me years. Are you listening out there? Years.
But that's not as worse as me. That's not as worse as me when they did the 5 Doctors and they had that picture where all the doctors were standing. They had that little model of Tom Baker. I thought that was Tom Baker. Years I thought that was Tom Baker. It wasn't. It was some kind of dummy.
Yeah, it was the waxwork model from the Tussauds exhibition.
Yes. You're talking about the dummy. I thought you were just talking about Tom Baker. Generally, something like that.
No,
that was all wrong.
That's very, very wrong.
Yes, because I knew that this conversation. Obviously, the title of this particular live stream, this installment of Type 40 Live, is silly season. I wanted things to get deliberately silly this time. Things got very, very heavy last week, but it was a big discussion point. Lots and lots of big topics discussed. But yes, Doctor Who is fun. The world of Doctor Who is fun, and celebrating and enjoying Doctor Who in one's life is fun. Got this fun picture up from Instagram. This is from Who Photography. Very inventive Instagram account here. Lots of stuff with toys. Obviously, having fun there with the large K9, of which I've got one behind me there, and Tom Baker action figure. And there's lots of tricks with perspective on that account, and lots of custom-made sets and things like that. I'll probably get some more pictures from that over the next few weeks. But lots and lots of fun. I thought you meant this kind of Tom Baker figure then when you were talking about that, Ian.
No, I was talking about that picture, that infamous picture where they're all as I said, for years I thought that was Tom Baker. I thought, well, why wasn't he in it? I kept thinking to myself, and then when somebody said, no, it's a dummy, I'm like, what?
That's quite sweet. Oh, poor little
terrible
baby
Well, we have kind of strayed into the territory that I wanted to talk about this time with you guys. You mentioned that April Fool's gag there. You mentioned that April Fool's gag there. It was one of many. There's been a long tradition ever since. And people like Doctor Who magazine, they try and fire these things across the collective fan bow, don't they? But we're more cynical. We're wise to it now. So they don't catch us out very often, or do they? There's things, there's jokes, there's stories, there's ideas, or just plain rumours that are put out just to sort of get conversation going, to sometimes to sell magazines or to get the clickbait on modern websites. And they do stick in your mind, don't they? Doctor Who is at the centre of rumours constantly. I think at one time it used to be only at a certain time of the year, but that social media has really accelerated that. But you still, that time in between seasons, as we're sort of in now, rumours flying around about who could be the next Doctor. You know, we talk about that every week. But general rumours about the tone of the show, the stories, where the show may go, whether the format would change entirely. You know, there was talk again a couple of weeks ago, Simon, that old favourite, that the police box is going again. Did you hear that? And did you think, oh, here we go again? You know, we've had that since 1984, haven't we?
I do hope it does. If Tibnall carries on.
JT started that rumour off years and years and years ago and ran it every year for about 3 or 4 years, just as purely as a publicity drive. You know,
and that's all it was, wasn't it? Really, because although I would imagine there were rumours in the sort of the seeds of the Doctor Who organised fandom in the mid to late 70s. There wouldn't have been a rumour mill as such, was there? You know, DWAS had just sprang up. Doctor Who Weekly was starting. You know, they were less sophisticated times in that respect. But as soon as JNT took over and he recognised the power of the press, as you were saying, from the very get-go, do you think it was the response to, because obviously he was the one who made the decision to take K9 out of the show. There was a huge outpouring of outrage and love and engagement. Do you think that was the key turn moment for him, or did he know what he was doing from the minute his bum hit the producer's seat?
I think he knew what he was doing from the get-go. And there is a very definite change. Literally virtually the minute that Doctor Who Weekly launches, it changes from then on. Because that almost coincides with the arrival of JNT. I think the week had been going for nearly a year by the time JNT arrived. But once JNT arrived, the weekly and then the monthly just kept running with these stories from JNT. He was stoking the machine, so he knew what he was doing. So for the first time ever, fans were getting to know what a producer was, and B, what the plans were for the show. That was the first time this had ever really started to come out. And he ran with it. JNT absolutely ran with it. He knew absolutely what he was doing, and he milked it to the nth degree without doubt.
Absolutely. And the other thing was as well that John knew how to utilize and manipulate things around him. He had a gift. And we have to understand as well, there had been really nobody. He was, you know, a new generation, if you like, of producer, because he had a different viewpoint on stuff, you know. And so he knew that there were sources within the BBC itself that would leak things to not leak in those days. They would say over a drink, oh, this is going on in Doctor Who, to a person that they were a Doctor Who fan. Now, there's a classic photograph which set Doctor Who fans alerts going off all the time back once upon a time, because he was allowing photographs to be taken in the production office, and he deliberately on the schedule planning board wrote an episode called The Doctor's Wife. And it's on there, and he did that deliberately for the added that he knew what was going to happen, and it did. We were all going.
Well, is this the thing? This was a result, was it, of during JNT's time? He had a lot of adoration, didn't he? Initially from the fan base, believe it or not. Doctor Who fans loved him. They loved what he was doing with the show. They would write to him personally. They bought his book. You know, Day in the Life of a TV Producer was a book that focused on JNT. So the fandom was getting more sophisticated and just as interested in the people making the show as starring in the show. And JNT responded to that really well, didn't he? And so he was inviting fans. This is where the problem started, wasn't it, if I remember rightly? He was inviting fans into the galley to see the episodes being made.
Absolutely.
And of course, there was no NDAs then, was there, Simon? There was no non-disclosure?
Absolutely. There was nothing like that then. Anybody could show, and that was what the press jumped on. So JNT really used that rumour mill, and the fans that were involved and were getting involved in there. And following on from what JT is saying here, about the Doctor's wife. Another really interesting thing is J&T realised that somehow stories were getting out about the production, and so he deliberately laid a trap. He put up again some information about a story, just to, or I can't remember whether he might have passed some information to various people and just waited to see which of the stories got out, and then he knew who his mole was, because there were moles in the in the nest that were letting information out, and that was how he found it. It was exciting stuff in those days.
Wasn't he responsible for a Comic Con? He was probably one of the first people to do the Comic Con thing with the Doctor.
Yeah,
and,
John.
Yeah. I mean, nobody wanted to do it, and he was the one that set it up. And he thought only a couple of thousand would turn up, but he was inundated. There was loads of fans.
I think he was the one. I think he was the first one, because when the Doctor Appreciation Society started in '76, I believe their very first convention, which was in a church hall, they wrote to John Pertwee privately. I don't think they even went through his agent. They wrote to him privately, even though he wasn't the Doctor. He'd been out of the show for 2 or 3 years at that point, but they wrote to him, invite him to be that original tentpole guest at their first convention. He said yes, but there wasn't a convention industry in the way that there is now. But I think J&T was the first person who was in the chair at the time to recognise it as an arm of the promotion that we're talking about. Maybe another opportunity to mess with the fans a little there as well, JT, to plant seeds, or did he use it as a testing ground for ideas to see how people would react to these kind of rumours?
But what was surprising is that they didn't think Tom Baker was going to turn up, because they had a.
No, I think what you're talking to there. I think what you may be alluding to there is Longleat in 1983.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
The 20th anniversary celebration event was a different sort of convention. It was John's brainchild, and he was surrounded by people in enterprises that loved it because they knew they could match in it. And Tom did turn up unexpectedly on that day. So I think you're talking about Longleat. When it came to the bigger thing about conventions, John was always there. Dan, you're right. He did see the potential where they was going. He did see it as an extension of promoting the show and building a fan base, and it worked, because suddenly Lionheart were interested in taking more of the episodes in America. They were going to Canada. They were going to Australia, and he was a brilliant promotional person. And he knew how to market, and he knew how to stoke these fires, and he knew how to get it in the press, and he knew how to do all that. And he was superb at that. It
makes you wonder why the BBC, after all this, after so many fans, after all the stuff that J&T showed the BBC, they still freaking didn't like Doctor Who. Do you know what I mean? They still didn't see the money.
But I think also, with all of that link between J&T and the fans was very key and important at that point in the show's history. And the importance of Ian Levine, to come back to him, cannot be underestimated, because he was that link between the show and the fans. And we've still got a lot to thank Ian Levine for, the fact that that some of the stuff he did, some of the stuff he got moving, in conjunction with J&T, that core team, it did help shape the show in those early 80s years, early to mid 80s years, and it was an important aspect of the show. We've got all those people to thank for it, I think.
Yeah, we now know that. We now know that J&T, although he put it out there, this was around the time that Colin Baker was taking the role. He did put it out there that he was going to change the TARDIS exterior because school children didn't recognise the police box by 1984, and therefore the novelty and the strangeness, the sense of the uncanny about seeing a spacecraft inside a police box, that may have been lost. I think that initially there may have been some truth in that, but I don't think he would. But I think there may have been some truth in that concept, in the thinking behind it, because he wasn't wrong about that. I had no idea what a police box was. Yeah, but I don't think he ever intended on actually. I think that a conversation was had at some point, at some point, a conversation had been had, and wheels started to turn, and he realised that if privately he and his team were having that conversation, put that out into the public, let them have the conversation, spin it around, and say, "Oh, it's okay. I'm not going to change it after all." So it's sort of trial and error.
No, you're actually giving him far too much credit about this. I had the luxury of being able to ask John about this once upon a time, and he said, "No, that's all bollocks," and he did it purely to get on the front pages.
All right, it was completely. He had
a new doctor coming up. Colin Baker hadn't been seen on television yet. He was coming up. Well, he had actually. It was around about Twin Dilemma, but he had a new doctor coming up. He wanted extra publicity, and what happened, of course, is that Colin's photo shoot involved not just Nicola Prime, but involved the police box prop. And what happened is he did it deliberately to get more coverage to his new leading actor, because every picture that went in the press was TARDIS, and it was Colin outside the police box and all this. And he said to me, no, it was complete bollocks that he was going to get rid of the show. He just did it purely because he was a wicked queen.
It all worked so well, and he just kept it all in the public eye right the way through the 80s. Yeah, he was a clever guy.
He had certain press individuals in the palm of his hand, and it would just take a couple of words from John when he found out they were going to run a story that he didn't agree with, and the story would die. And I would love to know exactly how he managed to do that, because you wouldn't be able to do it with the press today, I don't think.
No,
but back then he did.
JNT talks about that practice, and he doesn't actually name names in it, but if you can get hold of the Big Finish releases, I think it's called The Life and Times of John Nathan Turner. It's two double CD releases where he reads his autobiography, which had been serialized in Doctor Who magazine, but he reads all of that text on CD. I think you can get it as a download too. Very, very candid. And he talks about all this, most of his working practices, and it's absolutely fascinating, the lengths and breadths, and some of the, not lengths that he had to stoop to, but some of these stories, just as you're describing there, JT, it's a great listen. And so I wouldn't necessarily put anything past JT. It's a fun listen too. It's a lot of fun, because when he's describing these events, obviously, it's in his own words. He's performing the stories, so you get the funny voices. You get the lots of, well, I didn't need to say any more. That kind of thing. It's a great release. Yeah, you have got that. Obviously, there's a printed version of that in old copies of DWM, but it's not as much fun as hearing J&T talk about it in his own voice. Darren Bradley in the chat mentions this. Now, I don't know what your feelings are about this, because there was a famous episode of This Is Your Life, back when Peter Davison was still playing the Doctor. This went out on ITV at the time, and the subject of the week was the fifth Doctor. Now, during the course of that program, on screen and live, Eamon Holmes, keeper of the Big Red Book, he surprises Peter Davison, as they always allegedly did. He surprises him with this night, this celebration of his life and career. But as Darren Bradley points out, you can actually watch this on YouTube, I believe. There is a very brief glimpse of an Earthshock style Cyberman on screen there for the first time. It was the predating Earthshock.
No, I'm going to stop there, because I'm not sure. I know that it was shown during Earthshock because they have Beryl Reid on, but I had a feeling it was after episode 1. We'd have to get the exact date of when it was transmitted, but I have a feeling it was transmitted after episode 1, because Beryl Reid appears on This Is Your Life, and she's not in episode 1 of Earthshock. So I'm pretty certain you bear with me. I'm going to check the dates on this.
I'm sure as well that it was. I think you're right, Simon. I'm sure it was after the filming of Earthshock, but also as well, I seem to recall that they went to John. The This Is Your Life team went to John to say, "Look, obviously he's Doctor Who at the moment. It was his first season. We want to surprise him." John, being the show busy he set up a false filming schedule of a promotional video in Trafalgar Square, which involved the Daleks, the Cybermen, and I think one of the old Sea Devils. I can't remember, but it was a mini script, if I recall correctly, where Janet, Peter, Sarah Sutton, and possibly Matthew, I'm not too sure, were filming a promotion for Series 19 at Trafalgar Square, and that's where he was nabbed. That's where they got him. because the big red book, and it was Eamon, wasn't it, back in those days? Eamon Andrews came along, and that's when it was. And I think John helped to stage that deliberately.
Right. Well, I can put this one to bed because Earthshock was screened between the 8th and the 16th of March, and This Is Your Life went out on the 24th of March. So it did go out after Earthshock had been transmitted. So
and it wasn't live. It wasn't transmitted live. This is your life either. It was a hell of a show. I think the shows used to last 2 hours, so they had to cut it to a half-hour schedule.
The point is certainly there was no leaking of Cybermen in This Is Your Life. It was after transmission of it.
And also, that's quite interesting because we have to remember as well that John was offered the first Radio Times cover in centuries for Earthshock and turned it down to keep part one a surprise. So, hi, Darren.
Yeah.
Yes, hello, Darren. Sorry about that, but we've answered that particular question. I think.
Do you think that that eventually, as with all modern franchises now, with social media, with the press, was it inevitable that a rumor mill was going to spring up around Doctor Who, or was this? Should we blame John Nathan Turner entirely for this, for better or worse?
It was always going to happen because Doctor Who fans, we need to have that information. I mean, we're seeing it happen right now. There's so much rumor and there's so much speculation coming on, not just who is the 14th Doctor, but is the TARDIS going to be destroyed in the next series? Is the series coming up the last series? Is the show going to be cancelled? That's all happening again now. It's always going to happen because we have to have things to talk about. And we're a fine example of that right now on this show because we're looking at it all. It's great.
But having said all of that, you see, I still think that JNT was definitely breaking the mold throughout the 80s. It started in 1981, really, and it never stopped. And really, he was breaking the mold because there were no other shows like Doctor Who that was getting the kind of publicity and the kind of dissection of production processes as it was getting in Doctor Who magazine and the like. And a lot of that is down to JNT. And so, whilst it was probably inevitable, I don't think JNT sparked the idea, but the fact is I think he was ahead of his time with what he was doing with Doctor Who. He was kind of doing what the modern showrunners, for want of a better word, which we all hate that title, but he was doing what the modern showrunners are doing now, and he was ahead of his time. He was the first one to do that kind of stuff. I think nobody else was doing it at the time.
And because he was the first one, because he was I'm going to use the word pioneer. I'm going to be generous because he pioneered this. And he was kind of making it up as he was going along, and incurring the slings and the arrows and the, as Ian was saying, that lack of support from the BBC.
Yeah.
When he would hit bumps in the road, or when he would get things wrong himself, or not see things coming. Like Vanessa Law's asking here in the chat, is it true that J&T might have spent too long listening, interacting with the fans? Yes, he undoubtedly did. But I suppose because he was the one out there, being the first to make to have those successes, he was also the first one to have these failures as well. These landmines that he could never have foreseen blowing up took out his credibility in the end to some extent. Did affect his career.
The fans, of course, did turn on him back there because he'd done everything that they wanted for a certain while, and then they got fed up, and a certain section of fandom, as we see today, turned on John. But Jonathan Powell. Now, Jonathan Powell gets forgotten an awful lot in Doctor Who fans. Everybody gets at Michael Grade. Forget Grade. Go to Jonathan Powell. Jonathan Powell was the actual man that took Doctor Who off the air and very quietly did it. He took it off in 1989 and did not renew it. So it's Jonathan Powell. But Jonathan Powell has gone on record. He has actually said in various interviews that Nathan Turner turned Doctor Who into a monster that the BBC didn't understand could work after John Nathan Turner. And every time Powell alleges that he went to other people in the BBC to say, do you want to take on Doctor Who and replace John? Everyone turned around and went, oh, no, thank you, no, thank you, no, thank you. It's too much. And that's the beast. John turned it into a factory, which is another rumor that's going on today, that thanks to Russell, that Doctor Who should be having its own streaming service or whatever nonsense he's talking about now. But it's all this sort of stuff, and that's what John did. He took it all and turned it into a huge global machine therefore laying the foundations for what would be picked up in 2004.
Like Russell T Davies, he was an ideas man, wasn't he, Simon?
Yeah, and I think the other thing that we've got to be aware of here is that when John Nathan Turner started in the early 80s, fans, as JT has said, were already beginning now to become more owner. They were beginning to have more ownership on the show. They were beginning to feel some sort of ownership on it and take control of it. And so, in many ways, J&T was in a difficult position because the show was becoming more popular and just getting more avid fans that were getting their claws into it. And so, in many ways, he had no choice but to say, bring fans into the fold, as it were, and try and involve them. And in his heart, I think he was doing what he thought was the best thing, which was to involve the fans and was to get some connection there, as I say, with Ian Levine, and then moving that forward in how he developed stories and how he brought in continuity references, which misguidedly he kind of thought we all wanted. And maybe we probably did at the time. And did it go too far? Of course it went too far, and he got carried away with it all. But the truth of it is, at the heart of it, J&T always felt, I genuinely believe this, he always felt that he was doing the best for the show and the best for the fans. That's what he wanted.
No doubt.
Just to quickly say, this is from Jackson Parrish. I'm heading off now, but I absolutely love the opportunity to interact, Dan and co-presenters. I can't tell you how wonderful it is to hear about a passionate love of mine being talked about in such a wonderful, insightful and beautiful manner. Oh, wow. Truly grateful for that. Be there next show. Jackson, thank you. We're going to
Jackson.
We're going to put that.
Blue hair. Photo of blue hair.
I'm going to get that one engraved on a plaque and I'm going to sit it behind me. What they call a boilerplate like they have on the Starship Enterprise. Thank you for that, Jackson. That's great.
That's lovely, Jackson.
Great
have a nice
to see you here.
Tune in and watch us later on, Jackson.
Yes, please do. We're here talking about Doctor Who rumours. Let us know which your favourite ones are there in the comment section. We love to hear. Could it be stuff that we've talked about before? Could it be something you're saving up, something that we haven't mentioned yet? And we've got somebody else waiting to come in as well. Let's ask him. Alex Storer. Alex Storer, do you love a rumour? No. And if so, which is your favourite Doctor Who rumour of all time?
Don't say Bananarama.
So go on. You're not a fan of rumours then. So do you think it's a bad thing that it affects Doctor Who in a negative way?
It's got to that stage now, I think. Yeah, I remember back in the 80s when there was a big double-page spread in DWM about the next Doctor possibly being a woman. And they had Joanna Lumley, and I think there was also...
She would have been lovely.
They looked at other potential actors as well, and I think David Bowie was mentioned, and all that sort of thing.
David Bowie was mentioned all the time, Ian.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I remember the rumours in the Wilderness years. Things like Alan Yentob was about to take it over, or they'd redesign the Daleks and that sort of thing. Right. But I think back then there was always the fear that somebody might come along and resurrect the show and do it badly.
Well, that's happened already.
So it was a huge relief when RTD came along and did it right. But then obviously the aforementioned has since happened. So
Alex, in the 90s, do you remember David Burton?
No.
Oh, now there was a rumor that was plaguing me through the 90s, and eventually a mate of mine got to it. Doctor Who was coming back before 1996, so we were looking around about 92, 93, 94, and Doctor Who was coming back, and it was David Burton going to be the Doctor, and David Burton would go and open up fates and things with. And at one point, he even had this car saying, "The new Doctor Who, David Burton." And,
was he an older looking gentleman with grey hair?
Well, from my point of view, as a 20-year-old, he was. Yeah,
I remember. Yes,
but
in reality, he was only around 42, 43, wasn't he? But he'd lost his hair. Yes, this was a guy. David Burton, I understand, was pretty much a bit part actor. Yeah, and he used to do a lot of local theatre and things like that. So he wasn't a name at all. I think he had a couple of TV roles. And this is around 91, 92, again in Doctor Who magazine. And we've already established that I believe everything that I ever see printed in Doctor Who magazine. So I saw the same articles. But not only that, just as JT describes, they had the picture, the picture that you get in Spotlight, which is the actor's directory.
I remember this.
Picture from Spotlight's there. And next to it was a picture of David Burton's car. And you know what? Can't speak, can't lie. Yeah. So you got this car there. It was a Ford Proton. And
it was,
a decal running across the side. So as driven by David Burton, the new
Doctor Who. Yeah, I remember that. Wow.
That's going to happen. Yeah,
I found out many years later. A friend of mine worked with him on a show, and he said, "So I was supposed to be the Doctor Who at some point." Now it turns out that this particular rumor didn't hurt or didn't affect David Burton's career in any way at all. But what they were doing, apparently, he had been, I'm going to say contracted. He had been contracted by an independent production company who wanted Doctor Who, and they thought the best way that they could get the BBC to say, here are the rights to this multi-million-pound potential investment, by actually writing, producing a series. And Burton told my friend that he'd actually seen 4 scripts. He had a costume, which they paid a small amount of money to put it, to make sure it was right. They had built a console and a police box, allegedly, and one of the monsters from the first episode. And they were ready to go for it. And I just thought, how bullish to actually try and do all that. And the BBC weren't interested.
I'll tell you what, I've got one better than you.
Go on.
I was in LA, and this is with time when the Doctor Who had stopped. It was after Sylvester McCoy, it got cancelled and stuff like that. And I was in LA, and I had a meeting about one of my script ideas, whatever. And I just got talking to the guy that was interviewing me, the company, and he said, yeah, they want me to, there's been suggested that we buy this show called Doctor Who. You're from England. What's that about? and I was like, sitting there going, what? They offered you Doctor Who? He goes, no, yeah, these people we know at the BBC, they're thinking of giving the rights to us and whether we should make it.
Did you meet with Amblin, Mr. Mega Geek?
No, it wasn't Amblin. It was another
There's
company.
a new rumor. Ian met with Amblin.
No. This is a true story. And then he said to me, and I said, yeah, I really like Doctor Who. And he said, really? He goes, I saw one episode and it was terrible. and the conversation stopped dead after he said that.
I'm sure it did.
Isn't that weird, though? Isn't that weird that this company, this American company, could have brought the rights off the BBC for Doctor Who?
Well, Alex may remember these rumors as well, because it was always going around in the Doctor Who circles as well that Amblin were interested, Steven Spielberg was interested, who was eventually this and that. And that's what the BBC, it turns out now with hindsight, was always waiting out for. They were waiting out for the American deal, which eventually became the 1996 TV movie.
Yeah, well, Spielberg's name being mentioned a lot. Or sometimes you'd walk into Forbidden Planet and flick through SFX magazine or something, and you'd buy it just for a tiny article because there was a little rumor that such and such should.
But it was a rumor. It was a rumor that Spielberg wanted to buy the goodies at one point. The rights to the goodies.
I don't know, but it's so good. Let's start it.
I've read that rumor too, and we're talking about a time as well between 1991. I'm going to say 91 rather than 1990. Between 91 and 94, 95, when it was really out there that Amblin were the people. There was a situation where the BBC were seemingly actively looking for people, independent producers, to take on the show, because the simple fact was everything else had been farmed out, hadn't it? People like Verity Lambert's production company, Cinema Verity, that was producing quite a lot for the BBC. By that point, Beryl Virtue, Stephen Moffat's mother-in-law, her Heartswood, that was creating sitcoms and dramas. I think they were behind that Hetty Wainthropp show that Patricia Routledge used to do, the detective show. So there was lots and lots and lots of independent production companies making stuff for the BBC for the first time. There was a show called The Paradise Club with Don Henderson and Leslie Grantham. That was a big film show, wasn't it? Sort of like a crime show. It was them trying to do another Minder, really, I think.
Yeah.
Lots of examples of it. And sincerely, I think that it's completely feasible. That was the way that they wished Doctor Who to move forward. And I know for example, they approached and they pretty much offered it. And he said this is true several times. He maintains this. They offered it to Paul Stone, who'd put the Narnia show together. He'd worked extensively for them on those series over a 3-4 year period. He turned it down flat, even though he had got his own production company by that point. And he walked away from the BBC. I think he then went to work for Hallmark instead, making mini series. He ended up working on the Gulliver's Travels thing with Ted Danson instead. So it was prime time for these rumours to spring up about casting, about production.
It made sense because, of course, that Thatcher's government had said to the BBC, "You need to farm out and you work with independents." And that was the rise of it. Then that's what changed the British television landscape because we had to have it. You had to farm out an awful lot, and that was the start, really, of the destruction of the BBC's in-house gorgeous productions at the Donut. But the other thing as well is, I know. I'm name dropping today, and I make no apologies because these people were legends in my eyes. But Verity Lambert did once say to me, yes, I was very keen because I didn't like what happened to the show at the end of the 80s and I wanted Doctor Who. And she had met with the BBC, but so did allegedly Kit Pedler and Jerry Davis. They had gone and again, that was another rumor I'd heard. I never met either of them to actually say, did you either? But that was another rumor I'd heard that they were starting up. They wanted it. So there was a hell of a lot of interest in Doctor Who, but the BBC always came to with that element of, and it's Philip Siegel that says this. Segel says this. He says they come to you with this co-production deal, which means that they get the benefit of all the revenue.
Yeah, that's how it works.
Interesting.
I never knew that. I got Darren Bradley in the chat here mentions that Zenith was another of the first line. Zenith were the company. They were the company that made the Paradise Club. That show I was just talking about a minute ago.
Well, were they? I don't know this Paradise Club. That's the other company, of course, that I know John was quite involved in to an extent. Was the Green Light Productions, who were doing Doctor Who the movie.
Yeah, I remember.
Which was called, do you remember, Simon? It was called The Last of the Time Lords. And Nathan Turner actually advised on several scripts where he basically said, that's not Doctor Who, that's not Doctor Who, that's not Doctor Who, that's not Doctor Who.
I mean, the only thing I think that sort of exists of it is that there was a poster. They literally made a poster. It's a fantastic poster with a massive, brilliant Doctor Who, all new Doctor Who logo. And it was green light and Dalton rays and coast to coast. There were three. We never quite got to the bottom of it. There were sort of three production companies all sort of doing this. And I remember reports coming out that they were starting filming in Ireland next month. Starting next month in Ireland. They've got this. This was when all the Donald Sutherland rumours all started to come about. I'm sure that he was mostly tipped for the Doctor. But that Green Light production that you're talking about, JT, it went on for months and months, and even at 2 or 3 years, we were still expecting it. And apparently, the only thing that finally shelved it was the Paul McGann movie, the co-production deal that was brokered with Amblin and so on and so forth to make the McGann movie, and that was what shelved it.
I think it's the lovely and gorgeous, beautiful Caroline Munro.
That's right.
A sci-fi fantasy legend in her own right. She was actually associated with this movie from its inception to its death, and to this day, if you ever met her, I think she would. When I met her years ago at a Comic-Con, she said, "Oh yeah, I was down for that." One minute I was the companion, next minute I was the villain.
In fact, the companion. I can even remember going to, I think it was a Doctor Who convention, and Caroline Munro was there, along with the name of the. I can't remember the name of the producer, Peter.
His name was. There was two Peters. There's Peter Dugdale and Peter Lytton were the producers.
Lytton, yes, Lytton. And the character that Caroline Munro was going to play was pretty much, it's a new take, funnily, Ian, a new take on Romana. It was a time lady called Cora, and she was going to be the companion.
Cora.
Because the project stayed sort of being talked around for quite a long period of time, it did morph, and eventually she became linked to the villain role, which I think the villain's name was Morgana, which was obviously the name.
That does ring a bell, actually. Yeah, but Caroline Munro, she would have been a welcome addition into the Doctor Who family.
She would, and
she's a lovely lady.
And I can definitely remember being at this Doctor Who convention, and there was at least one of the Peters there, along with Caroline Munro, and they did a panel. They did a full panel where they were answering questions about about the Last of the Time Lords. This is what the film is going to be. You can imagine we were all wetting ourselves. And
I'm wondering, Simon, if I was there with you on that one, actually.
Who knows?
I mean,
we were in the same room in another life.
I
think that obviously at that time we're talking about the late 80s, and just I think it finished around 1990. All that was springing up as a possibility. That was the culmination of a story that had been told over a 4-5 year period that had predated the series itself coming off. I remember as soon as handmade films had successes with probably actually with stuff like Time Bandits, but particularly when With Nail and I became a hit, and they started to develop this. It looked like British cinema was back. That's what I'm trying to say. The British film industry had kind of died in the 70s. In the mid 80s,
still is dead.
It seemed like it was starting again in the mid 80s, but it ultimately proved that it didn't really go anywhere.
They would have been a good fit for Doctor Who. The handmade. They would have been. Imagine if Terry Gilliam had directed the film Doctor Who the movie. That would have been awesome.
Well, that was another rumor.
He has that Doctor Who sensibility, doesn't he?
Just imagine. We're going to take a quick break now, everybody, and we're going to bring somebody else into the chat in a moment. But yeah, while I remember, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. If you're having a good time, drop us a few comments. Continue the conversation later.
The like button.
That's how it works with time travel, everybody. That's how it works with time travel. Yeah, I've got a fun video here kicking off, talking about going Hollywood. But I wondered if you can work out which 3 legendary sci-fi fantasy series even collide in this trailer. Check it out.
We can't allow this to happen.
You what?
What you propose threatens our very existence. Suppose you were to go back and inadvertently kill your own grandfather, changing the course of history. This facility must be terminated.
It's not doing any harm.
You wrote to your brother. I have cracked it, our kid. I can now isolate a single second in time. I'm in control. I needn't worry about me finances again.
With the Vodafone digital network, I'm charged by the second, not the minute. So I'm finally in control of my finances.
The Vodafone network. You were talking about your phone bill.
Yeah, and excuse me, but how could a karaoke machine kill me granddad?
So very cross the Mersey.
We'll just have to keep on looking.
The Vodafone network. You are not alone.
Oh, I love it. I remember that well. That was brilliant. Do you not remember that? I remember that.
That was, I think, wasn't that the last thing that Pertwee ever did, bless him? I think, or the last televised.
Pretty old, yeah.
I wonder how much he got paid to just appear right at the end.
Oh, it would have been what he wanted.
Exactly.
There was a series of adverts there that John Pertwee was part of. I think it was 3 or 4 of them where he pretty much did a spit and a cough there, Alex. But that was for Vodafone around 94, 94. He died in 96, didn't he, John?
Yeah.
So,
Two famous actors in there, isn't there? I mean, the American. I can't remember the guy, the American guy. What was his name? Yes, him, and Pertwee, man. You know.
Yeah, and also you've got Paul Darrow in there doing the voiceover from.
I was about to ask that. Can anybody work out who the 3? What 3 sci-fi universe collide in that?
We are geeks. We can do that. Well, of course we know.
You spoilt it, JT.
Anybody in the chat? No. Oh yes. So yes, disaster area. Well done, Twin Peaks. Like 7.
Disaster area.
Like 7 from the first part. Yeah. Well, yeah. There we are. Yeah. I want you to all think about one of your favourite ever Doctor Who rumours. So I'm going to ask you that in a moment. Just think on that for a minute while I bring in from across the time streams Christian Basil from the cockpit of the travelling TARDIS.
Is it his X-wing again?
Hello, Christian.
Hello. Christian.
X-wing.
Christian, do you like
wings?
Christian, do you like a rumor? Do you like a Doctor Who rumor?
Hell no, I hate rumors. No, I'm fine with rumors, but it's just some of those rumors are just okay. Yeah, whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I've gotten to the point in my life where screw rumors. If I see it, I'll believe it. That's what I've come down to.
Christian, it's as though I've got somebody here that wants to say hello to you at the moment, because it's as though I knew you were coming on, but I've got a little friend here for you.
Beautiful.
Absolute
Do we have the Mandalorian version over there as well?
No.
I love Yoda. Baby Yoda. I like the Yodas.
So obviously there the world is a much smaller place though, Christian. Yourself out there in Florida.
Darren,
on the other side of the world, these rumours that at one time they would have been kept to within England's shores. Now you get to hear them when we do, and you don't feel any closer to the action now. You never felt you were missing out in the 90s or the 80s when we had to sit through this crap.
in our time in the 80s and 90s, I meant we had snail mail. There was no Twitter. There was no any of the stuff that we have today. So if we heard a rumor,
the world before the internet.
If you want to get close,
place.
If there was rumors, do you remember Commodore 64 and Quantum Link? Those guys out there, and the BBS board
64.
So I mean, that if the rumor made it out there, we just kind of believed it. But at that
Christian,
time,
what was Doctor Who like though in the 80s though? Because it wasn't that big until John got over there, really, was it? So 83 onwards, maybe.
But remember, this was a creature of PBS. So
what's that? Sorry, we're British. Sorry, what's PBS?
It's a channel.
It's BBC for our time.
Yeah.
It's publicly run station. But if our PBS didn't catch up or wasn't on time, I don't know if I've ever told you, Dave. You remember my theory of Doctor Who back when I was growing up is because my PBS didn't buy all the Doctor Who and I didn't know about it. Is that it all started with Robot, ended with Tom Baker falling off the tower in Galogopolis, turns blonde, starts all over. That was my Doctor Who experience. Then one day, I guess our PBS sold enough VHS tapes. They mentioned, we're going to have a special called The Five Doctors.
Yep.
I didn't know there was 1 through 3. Wait a minute. How did we get to 5?
Wow.
And then all of a sudden, they start getting more popular. Then they start bringing the Troutons and John Pertwees, the ones that still existed that didn't end up in Nigeria or in somebody's medicine cabinet somewhere out of nowhere. Where they're fine. I still think they're all locked up in Stephen Moffat's locker, and he's just putting them out there every so often.
More rumors, everybody. Spread that one.
He's got a Foot Locker somewhere. He's got all the episodes. He's just putting them out and goes, I need a new pony. Boom.
And when they ask you where you heard... When they ask you where you heard this terrible, terrible rumor, you say you can give them the link.
Oh, shut up! You know it's true.
Give them the link to this video, then they'll come here and they'll like the video and subscribe to the channel. Of course they will. So Alex, you're not one for rumors. You're not very into rumors at all. You haven't got a favourite one?
Afraid not. No. Although I remember when I was at a convention, I think maybe back in 2001, and there was Dan Freeman was there.
Yes.
And he gave us a talk about his vision for the show, which he'd pitched to the BBC at the time. And it sounded, I can't remember much about it now, but it really sounded brilliant. I remember coming out of that convention really feeling quite excited and optimistic that it might happen. And of course it didn't.
Oh, well, this is interesting because Dan, I know you're out there. You watch the show. He's on my Facebook list. So we're friends. We've never actually spoken, but we're friends on Facebook, as is the case. So yeah, Dan, if you want to come on and tell us about it, all these years on, if it's not too much, if it's not too painful, I'd love to hear that. I had no idea, Dan.
I'd like to hear that because I didn't even know he'd put in a proposal or a bid.
I may be misremembering bits of it, but I do remember him definitely talking about what he would have liked, what he wanted to do with the show if he could get his hands on it. I think that was at the convention in 2001 in Stoke-on-Trent.
Okay. And can you remember had he actually put the pitch in? Can you remember, Alex, or was this just a sort of dream idea?
Yeah, I can't remember whether he put it in or whether he was working on it to do. My memory's failing me there, I'm afraid, chaps.
Yeah.
Interesting nonetheless. I've certainly not heard that one.
No, neither
absolutely, have I. Absolutely fascinating. Ian, you like a rumor, don't you? What's your favourite Doctor Who rumor ever? Whether it's come true or not.
Well, when I had that meeting, I remember the guy at the meeting was saying that he was talking about Paul McGann, and he was saying that Paul McGann probably will be the next Doctor. And I was like, that guy from what was that film he was famous for? I can't remember the one with Nail and I. I was like, that guy with Nail and I? No way.
Classic.
And then years later, he was the Doctor in the film. But the rumor that I thought was quite funny was the guy from Death in Paradise, Marshall. Chris Marshall. And when they play that advert where Jodie had the hoodie on, I thought it was going to be Chris Marshall, and he took it off and it was like this woman. I was like, what the But yeah, so
she's not ginger.
Yeah, exactly.
What you're talking about there, of course, is the rumor that will not die. No matter how many times people
there he is.
So it's sprung up again now. I often wonder, Christian, because we talked about this. This was everywhere 3 or 4 years ago, back whenever it was
maybe even further than that.
Pre you know who. Had you got, and now it's sprung up again. Have you got any idea who this man is, Christian?
I have a vague idea. I know about Death in Paradise. I've never watched the series. I kind of know things peripherally, I guess, from what people tell me.
Love Actually. He was in Love Actually.
Yeah.
I'm probably one of 5 people who don't appreciate Love Actually. I appreciated some things in Love Actually, but not all of it. I just like, okay, this is too much.
Wasn't he famous for an advert once? He was in an advert, right? Was he? Or am I mixing up somebody else?
He used to appear in I think they were coffee adverts.
Yeah,
it was him and an actress playing his wife. He used to be in a show called Spooks a few years ago, yes. And the adverts ran for several years. I think they started when they met, and because she was a single mom. And he was coming into this sort of blended family. And the story of these adverts, as they sometimes do with Nescafe, runs over a few years of him learning to be a parent, all over coffee, the way that these things do that. Yeah. But he's a great actor. He is a great actor. And I see why people point at him for the Doctor. Back when the sitcom My Family started, where he was undoubtedly the breakout star of that.
He was.
Zoe Wanamaker and Robert Lindsay were the leads. He was the eldest son. He was incredibly charismatic, lots of fun. He got the wide eyes of Tom Baker. The craziness, and he had this alien quality. Whether he's still got that within him, I don't know. I think he's probably calmed down a little. I never saw him in Death in Paradise myself, but yes, these rumors have sprang up again.
I tell you the reason why I believed it, because this is typically what the BBC does with Doctor Who. They don't go for someone that's kind of famous or a breakout star. They go for someone that's in their fold. And this guy was very much in the fold of the BBC. He'd done loads of shows for the BBC. So when they said it, I thought, well, that's it then. He's going to get him. And then when he took the hoodie off, it was Jodie. I was like, what the hell's going on? So there you go.
I'm sorry, Vanessa. I'm if you love it, you love it. I just couldn't. It was just too long. It was just too long for me. At some point, I was.
The Love Actually massive have steamed into correct Christian.
Alan Rickman. He was another potential Doctor Who in the rumor mills in the 90s.
Alan Rickman.
If we're going to go that, John Cleese was rumored. I mean, there was just some really just, but you knew for a fact that they've already been. They're not going to come down to the BBC level back to come back and work. John Cleese is not coming back.
The other big one for a movie Doctor was the legendary Tim Curry.
Yes.
We actually apparently said he would have done it.
We could do an entire show on movie doctors. There's so much in that. Rick's got a rumor of his own here. I'm not going to even repeat that, Rick.
How do we know these things?
Talking about, I'm not a big fan of Love Actually either, by the way, but I do see the appeal of Chris Marshall, and part of me would kind of like to see him play the part. I think it's incredibly unlikely. JT, have you got a favourite Doctor Who rumor from all your decades following the series, whether it came true or not?
I do. I love the ones fairly current, actually, because there's loads that go through my mind when we talk about rumors, and because this is a light show and a fun show, the one that gets me is the one that happens every year from certain YouTubers who are about 10 years old. Omega's coming back. No, he's not. No, he's not. And this shows me as well that people do forget that characters are created by authors, and Omega belongs to Bob Baker and Dave Martin. And if they were going to do something like that and they were going to bring him back, everybody would know about it. But Omega, of course, is now associated with K9 more because of what's possibly going to happen there, as we know from our show last year. But that gets me every time I see these young YouTubers coming on saying Omega's coming back. It just thrills me to think, well, that character is how many years old now, and it shows that it's hugely popular. They want him, and I think that's actually quite sweet. I'll tell you one rumor that I don't. It makes me very, very sad. Was the rumor in early 1985? I heard that the Blackpool exhibition was closing, and that turned out to be true. That was a real. No, they can't. That can't be happening. No, that's rubbish. And that was a ugh, one of those ones.
Knife in the heart. Simon, do you appreciate all these rumours? Is it all part of the fun, or do you really wish it would stop?
Because of course, for somebody that grew up in the 70s and then so lived through the 80s with all those rumours, absolutely. I used to, at that time in the 80s, I was in Dwas, and so I would get my Celestial Toy Room every month, and I literally devoured it to find these rumours. Oh, absolutely. I thrived on rumours. My favourite rumour is the Adric's coming back. No, I'm only kidding. No, my favourite
That's
rumour...
hilarious.
And blow him up again.
my very favourite rumour, and it still keeps coming back, is that all 109 missing episodes have been found. And that's my very, very favourite
Stephen
rumour.
Moffat has it in his footlocker.
Yeah, I'm not giving up on that one yet.
No.
There's a rumor that Simon's going to have blue hair next week. You hear that one?
I haven't heard that one. That's tell us more about that one.
The rumor is he doesn't have to do the roots. They're just going to cut it. It's just going to grow out.
Have you got a favourite rumor, Simon? One that warms the cockles.
Yeah. Well, as I say, that one that with 109 episodes, that really still warms. And of course, then the rumor partially turned out to be true because we got 2 stories back. So okay, we didn't get 109 episodes, but we did get 11 episodes back, 10 episodes, which was fabulous. So and to be honest, those are the rumors. I must be honest, being for anybody that hasn't worked this out yet, I'm not desperately interested in any rumors whatsoever about the current show. You could tell me David Bowie has been resurrected and he's going to be in the new show. I still wouldn't give a stuff because I don't care about the show at the moment. But the one thing that still keeps me excited is those rumours that do keep creeping out that an episode has been found. And they do still keep coming out. And that's what the rumours that I'm interested in.
You know what? You should actually add 4 extra episodes to that too, and include Tomb of the Cybermen. Because I mean, what would we all like when Tomb of the Cybermen was confirmed as coming home?
You say that, JT, because back in the 80s, as Dan well knows, I used to put together a magazine, a fanzine called Second Dimension, and the one year. We did. This was before Tomb of the Cybermen had been found, and we did our own April Fool, and we did a mock-up cover of Tomb of the Cybermen on video. We elaborated this whole story about how Tomb of the Cybermen had been found, complete with mock-up cover, and the number of people that bought this rumor. They've never forgiven us since for putting it out there because we got people excited. But of course, the happy parts of the story is a year later. It was found, and so actually we were ahead of our time.
That's actually quite I love that story.
They let you off, and they'll have been thinking, "Oh, maybe they were right after all the time."
You see, I know what we were talking about.
You're evil, Simon. You're evil.
That is, but wow.
It could have been. It could have been. Are there fresh rumours about new missing episodes coming to light? Then Duncan's mentioned this in the chat
every day.
I haven't heard. No, but he seems very. I hope that the rumor about 9 missing episodes is true. That he's got a number there. Is this a story that I haven't seen break?
Well, it's from a while ago, isn't it? The 9 missing.
I haven't heard. I
certainly heard it again last week. I heard it, or might be the week before again. That supposedly, yes, there are 9 episodes.
Wow.
Maybe.
I haven't.
But that's been since the last lot. Since Web of Fear and Enemy of the World came home, they've been talking about there's 9 extra that they found that just released. Yeah.
But I love
Enemy of the World. I'm bowled over by that comment that was just up there from Megan Eurobytes. I'm going to have that one.
Which one was that? I didn't see that.
So it says Simon's head has a chameleon circuit in it.
Really?
If you decide to die blue, can you get a visor that says police box on it? Right?
Yeah.
Let's just complete the entourage there.
Lamp on the top.
There you go. Yes,
there are several rumours that have stuck in my head over the years. Some of which have amused me, and some haven't. This one drove me mad when I first saw it because I knew that it wasn't true. Ooh. My friends who are the normies, they were ferociously excited about this and came to me with it like it was cast iron fact. At the time, it really, really annoyed me. Now I kind of look back with a little fondness. It's back to the rock stars or pop stars, and this one is that Kylie Minogue was to play a sexy Cyberwoman in Doctor Who. Now, this story was everywhere. early. Oh dear, poor Christian. It's not seen this one before, my friend. Yes, this was everywhere.
No, but I'd like to see it.
Same here. Jesus.
The story here travelled quite well in early 2007. It said Australian pop star Kylie Minogue will appear in TV hit series Doctor Who for its Christmas special, playing a sexy Cyberwoman who tries to lure the Doctor, played by David Tennant. So there's a touch of the Borg Queen about that. I think they've probably been watching First Contact. A BBC source revealed the Grammy winner was keen on playing the role and is really excited about acting.
Sure he was.
Again. And the Doctor Who team are delighted they've got someone so sexy and high profile as Kylie to ensure they win the annual ratings battle with ITV. There we are. She was 38 years old at the time. This was back in the April. And Russell T Davies said when his friend had suggested Kylie for a role in the show, I thought she wouldn't be available for the next 2 years. So obviously, this story broke in the April, and it's one of those things where it was possibly Chinese whispers, half measures things. Somebody hears a story, tries to connect the dots, gets it wrong. But because Kylie, sure enough, she was in the 2007 Christmas special.
Well, also the other reason this might get a sort of crossover is because it just mentions in there about Will
Baker.
Yeah.
Will Baker, stylist, who interestingly, Will and I go right back to the mid '80s. My very first sort of attempt at a fanzine was with Will Baker, the two of us. If you're still out there, Will, hello, don't know where you are, but do get in touch. Yeah, we did a fanzine together.
There they are there.
He's a huge Doctor Who fan, as people know, he's a huge Doctor Who fan, and that's why these Cybermen appeared on stage with a back in whatever year it was on the tour. So I'd imagine that's where a little bit of crossover is going on here into this room that you're aware of.
So for the people out there who can't see this, we're looking at some pictures at the moment because the previous year Kylie Minogue had been on a world tour. At the time, she was probably at the height of a popularity, certainly globally. And Will Baker was the stylist on the tour, wasn't he? As you say, an old friend of yours, huge Doctor Who fan, and he put together all the costumes, all the sets and all that sort of thing. He put together the entire look of the tour, and one particular dance number did feature all the dancers around her in unmistakably Cyberman headgear. There, Christian, you sit amazed. You look dumbfounded.
Did this inspire a Torchwood episode by any chance?
Well, this was
I'm being inspired by other things, but it's okay.
This was an amazing.
Well,
this was an amazing tour. This tour actually went on after Voyage of the Damned and confirmed Kylie Minogue really as a companion. I was at one of these shows that Kylie did, and it started with the Doctor Who theme music. This was the last act in the show, and it did have an element of the Doctor Who theme music in here. And Kylie is, of course, there in the element of the show. The couple of songs she sang, she was supposed to be the leader, the queen of the cyber people, because there are cyber women there as well. And it was a whole narrative that she put into the show, as people do now when they're putting concerts together. And Will did design these deliberately, but they did have Russell's blessing apparently as well.
So was this a response to that rumor then? If this, I assumed this was before, and that people had seen this, had been to the concert, and then thought, she's going to play Cyberwoman in Doctor Who. But this was actually a response, and this is being playful with the rumor.
Otherwise, unless I suppose there is a possibility that somebody saw rehearsals going on for the tour and added two and two together, or something, or it got
possibly. Because I remember seeing an advert, not that article, and being a Kylie fan, I'd seen this thing and I thought, hang on a minute, that's a bit odd because she's just been in Voyage of the Damned and I know she's not coming back, she was killed off. And then I saw the tour and then I remembered the clipping. In fact, I've probably got the clipping still somewhere in my collection. That's where they've mixed the two things together, as press tend to do. Because she is playing the Cyber Queen there, but it was on a segment of her show, which is available, or was available, on DVD.
Am I the only one that can tell everybody's religion by their cyber suit?
Well, there you go.
Am I the only one in the room?
Okay. I think that Kylie's religion is certainly Mavellan.
Definitely, yes.
Yeah. You can see where Will Baker, being the huge fan he is, as Simon will confirm, got his inspiration. And of course, it was Will that got Kylie into Doctor Who anyway. He had to practically push her in. Get in there.
Wasn't there a famous model that was one of them?
Who started? No. No, Suzanne. Sorry, Simon. Yeah.
Simon, who? What's her name again?
Suzanne Danielle, isn't it?
That's it. That's
Suzanne
the one.
Danielle.
Yeah.
And
What
how
happened
did
to
can
Suzanne
any,
Danielle?
well,
I
can
don't
anybody,
know.
can anybody remember? Because obviously I knew that there was a big fuss about this at the time. It got in the papers. This is pre JNT as well.
Yeah,
It was quite a coup that Suzanne Danielle was in Destiny of the Daleks. Look at a picture of her stood there with poor Tony Asoba. They're dressed as Movellans. So this got press.
Yeah,
but I was never really sure, Simon. How did Suzanne Danielle come to fame? Was she an actress or a dancer? Where was she from?
I think she was an actress, wasn't she?
No, I think was she dating Andrew at the time, Prince Andrew?
No, that was
I
Koo
might mix it up.
Stark.
I was Koo Stark, right?
Yeah, she was an actress. She'd done a few things. She'd done. She started with Carry On Emmanuel, that massive Carry On flop.
That's right. Maybe was she a page 3 model? I can't remember now.
I don't know.
She did do some modelling, Simon. Yeah,
I
but
remember these pictures being in the Daily Mirror. I remember all these pictures being in the Daily. Getting so excited when I saw those pictures and thinking, "Oh, it's back! It's back! Doctor Who's back!"
Yeah.
And it's funny because those Movellans do get a bit of a rough ride, but you look at them now and you imagine seeing those for the first time in newspapers before knowing that Doctor Who's coming back. And let's be honest, they look pretty cool. As a 10-year-old, I was excited.
And that was the first time that joke was said, wasn't it? When Tom Baker was the Daleks, and he's like, if you're so superior, come climb up and get me. And Dalek flies at him. I remember them playing the advert all the time on the BBC saying Doctor Who's back, and I was like, yes.
Well, look, I've enjoyed talking about all these rumours. I knew it'd be a fun conversation. I knew it might get a little silly, but yeah, I've had a lot of fun with this. I think with the rumours,
silly.
They stay that they stay with us as much as what actually makes it to the screen, because Doctor Who is that place that we go to in our imaginations, isn't it, everybody? It is. Despite what may be going on at present, it will always be our happy place. And although some rumours make us feel more optimistic for the future than others, we have to accept what he's laughing at.
Kristen would be really upset. You keep putting that picture up. Do you see his face? You see his little face? He's upset.
I don't know what picture it is, but yeah, as time moves on, obviously the rumours they're just not going to stop, are they? This is the world that we live in. This is popular culture. This is the media circus, and I think as long as we do always have that pinch of salt on standby with a top up, then it's never going to really do any harm. Is it?
That one.
Wrong show.
Is it? Talking about pretty pictures, Alex, what we've got you here, your wonderful art cards, your Blackpool exhibition art cards, tying into your book, aren't they, with John Collier? Do you want to tell us about those again before we go?
Yes, I'm still flogging them on eBay. Limited edition. They're the ones. Come in a shiny packet with individual number.
Yes.
I'd had a break from
high quality art cards here. Prints of Alex's fabulous illustrations from that amazingly popular ebook, the biggest ebook I think
is gorgeous.
Not just Doctor Who history, the biggest ebook in history. It's official because we've just told you it is. It is. Yeah, it is. Nobody's going to argue. It is.
Fabulous. That's great.
So people can find those on eBay, can't they? If you let us have the link, we'll drop it in the comments section, in the description, and people can go direct, and get them, because obviously it is Valentine's Day coming up, so that's the ideal gift for your loved one.
Darling, here I got you some Dalek cards.
Why not?
He's gonna love me.
Or any birthday you may have coming up about now, over on the Rabbi from Another Planet, Feel a Bit Kenny will be kicking off with more Doctor Who talk. Heaven knows which rumours, because the Rabbi has famously created rumours, albeit accidentally himself. Head over to his channel after we've logged off. Of course, you can catch up with whatever he's saying later on. Head over to his channel and see what the Rabbi's talking about. You can bet it'll be a lot of fun. Christian, you're up a little bit later on as well, 4 or 5 hours time. Legend of the Travelling TARDIS. What are you talking about this week?
I see a lot of people are going, I'm going to dinner now. I'm just like, I'm going to lunch now. Got to get used to that. Tonight we're going back into our big finish, and we've been doing a couple of things on the Travelling TARDIS that we kind of skipped out on the first. We did on the first year and then didn't go back to. One of the things we wanted to go back to was reviewing Big Finish. I think we did like 1 or 2 and then we just stopped. So the next episode, I just asked the gang, I said, which episode do you want to do? And Melanie shouts out, Sword of Orion. So we're going to be
I know that one. That's
Sword
a
of
Paul
Orion.
McGann one, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And it's Charlie early season. So I'm just, I was like, okay, I guess we're doing that one. So
India Fisher. She liked me.
Those early Big Finish stories are brilliant. I mean, the Big Finish really brought the show back to life during the sort of late wilderness years, and
they did.
We thought that was going to be the future.
Children,
but
it was different at the time
earlier. I think they've just gone on for
really
long now.
So that's tonight on. Well, tonight for us it's tonight. For you, it's about the middle of the day on the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. Go and check that out. And yeah, PD Richie's off to see the Rabbi. Tell the Rabbi I bloody plugged him, won't you? Send our love.
Metaphorically, please.
Send our love to the Rabbi.
Mumming rabbis all over the place.
What have you got coming up later on this week, Ian? Because you like to go on different channels, don't you, and talk various movies?
Yeah, sometimes I'm on Culture Casino's channel. I really like him. He gives out some good stuff as well. And always on Dan's channel. I can't escape. I'm always there.
Yeah. New show starting soon, everybody. Brand new show starting soon on the Spacebook. Look out for that. More talk about that in a few days' time.
Look at Simon.
Yeah.
Everybody has to tune in next week because we want to see Simon with that blue hair.
With the blue hair.
I just might not be brave enough.
Just get it done. You've said you're going to do it now. The viewers expect it.
Yes.
Let me be brave. Let me be brave.
The people,
blue.
The people have
blue.
The people have spoken. Blue Simon. Hashtag blue lunatic. Blue lunatic.
Blue lunatic. I like that.
What the people want. I've got one last picture to show you guys. This is a lovely picture taken in 1968. Not by me. This was taken by, I believe, probably the parent of Sabrina Dare Bledsoe. She's posted this delightful picture from what's probably a seaside town, I think.
Yeah.
And that's obviously one of those Daleks that you could put a coin in, couldn't you? And
2 pence.
Go
2
up
pence,
and
mate.
down. I don't remember ever seeing these. Obviously,
what really?
I've got a photograph in one of those. Yeah.
Have you really?
So well.
So could you see out of them? What we're looking at is a Dalek, which would have been the Dalek would have been around 4.5 foot tall at the most.
No, they were quite big.
Oh, they're about 5.5, 6 foot.
They were bigger than a crocodile.
About 5
huge.
foot. Yeah.
They used to have them in Blackpool on the pier.
Fiberglass. It was a flat roof. You couldn't see into the dome. It was all very disappointing, but it sort of had that musty fiberglass stroke mud smell that you got inside.
I can't remember. Did they turn or something like that? I can't remember if it did.
Yeah, it jerked around a bit.
That's right. And it did do a few phrases.
An anticlimax.
For a kid, it wasn't an anticlimax. I remember coming out of the Blackpool exhibition on numerous occasions, running across the road to the pier to get in one.
Red, as I recall, they were red
and yellow.
What was your what was your question there, Simon, about the noise?
No, I was saying to Alex, can you remember? Did they do any phrases? Did they speak at all? Can you remember? I'm sure they did.
I was probably about 5 at the time, so I don't remember. The lights flashed. You could move all the guns.
Yes.
I think it probably just made space sounds and laser noises.
It didn't have Briggs's voice. Jesus.
I'm sure it had. I'm sure it said exterminate. Surely it must.
I'm going to get chastised for this. Is this early Jodie Whittaker?
No.
The role she was meant for.
Oh, there he goes.
I'm going to get it. It's a joke.
This is a fan of Jodie saying this.
Absolutely adorable stuff. I couldn't agree more. People in the chat really like that. Yes, thanks for joining us this time on Type 40 Live. We're taking a bit of a break next week, just for the 1 week. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time with another live stream. And if all goes well, it'll be a chance for you to ask us absolutely anything. There'll be more on that if you keep an eye on the Type 40 Facebook page and in the Facebook group. I'll let you know how you can ask us anything over the next few days. It's going to be a giggle. We can't promise any straight answers, and we certainly can't promise anything will make any sense whatsoever. But if you ask us something, we'll do our very, very best to give you an answer. In the meantime, you can catch up with earlier editions of Type 40 Live. There's an entire first season here that we recorded autumn last year. Lots and lots of guests, lots of silly jokes, lots of deep and meaningful Doctor Who related conversation, and just some outrageous jokes, fan art, all that kind of thing. Basically, more of the same. So if you've enjoyed this, you want more, there is more there in the playlists on this very channel, as there is also our Blake 7 podcast teleport new episode. A little bit late with the episode this month. It is coming, don't worry, but there's the 4 episodes already up here on the Spacebook channel, along with the Type 40 podcast itself. Talking of the Type 40 podcast,
the Liberator. Love it.
Talking of the Type 40 podcast this week, we have recorded it. Yes, the people out there asking me what I thought of Revolution of the Daleks, that very latest episode of Doctor Who. Yes, I have finally seen it. We've recorded our interview, myself, Barnaby Jago, Kyle Wagner, and somebody else, another voice brand new to Type 40. So listen out for that next week. It was a fun show to record. A lot more fun than watching Revolution. No, it was a fun show to record. You're gonna enjoy it. I can't wait to drop it.
Wasn't Kyle Wagner an actor?
You guys to hear it.
No, it's not that Kyle Wagner.
Wasn't he a Wonder Woman? Right.
Yeah, he was in Wonder Woman.
It was, yeah. Great name.
Yeah.
Yes.
Steve Trevor.
That's it. Yeah. Oh, happy days.
Yes, our friend Kyle, of course, it's our friend Kyle from the Fandom Podcast Network. But yeah, that does wrap us up for now. Thank you for joining us, everybody. Say goodnight, gentlemen. It's been a pleasure as always. Take care, everybody.
Spacebuckers.
Speak to you soon. Bye bye.